So, when tuning into the show titled P Valley, which we all know stands for Pussy Valley, the things that I was expecting to see were, of course, lots of female nudity, as well as a whole lot of booty shaking, twerking, and those girls sliding up and down on that pole, which were some of the best scenes, by the way. And Mercedes was such an incredible dancer. But what I wasn't expecting to see was her mama, who was really throwing down in that church. I was like, okay. The church scenes were a bit jarring after getting so acquainted with the strip club, but the juxtaposition was very effective and felt very intentional, especially when showing us how both mother and daughter were both trying to figure out how to hustle to get what they wanted, and how they both had a knack for captivating an audience. I was also very pleasantly surprised to see the love story that developed between Uncle Clifford and Lil Murder, or Lamarcus, as we found out was his government name. But it's these kinds of unexpected character developments that really make the show so fantastic. And again, specifically for a show that centers around male fantasies of women and sex. But this unexpected love story that develops between the two characters is interesting because the two appear to represent polar opposites of what society defines as being socially acceptable for Black masculinity. If you're not familiar with the show, Uncle Clifford, as she's affectionately called by her girls, runs a strip club called The Pink, or The Pank. She is non-binary and uses she/her pronouns. She also defies the rules of Black masculinity, which require no traces or hints of femininity, lest you be deemed as soft or a punk. But Uncle Clifford is no punk, nor does she constrict herself to these rules. She switches between feminine and masculine looks as she pleases, whether she's got long, beautiful nails on, whether she's switching up her colorful lace front wigs. Honey Clifford will rock a blonde wig, a pink wig, a blue wig in a minute. I love it. Other times, she dons a more masculine look by removing the wigs, as we see in episode 1, season 1, where we see her removing all of her nails and donning a suit and hat in order to handle some important financial business. The actor who plays Uncle Clifford stated in an interview, "I'm really interested in the concept of a person that can accept and access all of their femininity and all of their masculinity, and what that would look like in a person and not be beholden to societal conditioning and things like that." And though she's tough and has a knack for reading people, Uncle Clifford also has a very kind, vulnerable side that I think Lil Murder recognizes right off the bat. And I just love the way Lil Murder brings out that softer, more vulnerable side of Clifford. In stark contrast to Clifford, we have Lil Murder, who is a straight man who plays the role of Black masculinity in a far more socially acceptable way. No lace fronts for him or nails. Instead, he dons the grill, the tats, and the chains. And he seems to feel he has to play the role in order to be accepted in the mostly male-dominated rap industry. But it still isn't enough to keep people from trying to call him out, like when he sits next to his boy who calls him a punk. Lil Murder says, "Man, I ain't no punk." And the guy goes, "Shit, you everybody punk from what I heard." Lil Murder takes one look at this man and proceeds to whoop his ass. And when he fears Keyshawn may out him after she catches him kissing Clifford, he's pleasantly surprised that she's actually willing to pretend to be his girl in order to make him more palatable to his audience and quell the rumors that he might be gay, even though this is a dangerous game she is playing with the type of man she's dealing with at home. In fact, when he sits down with somebody from the record label, the guy makes a dig at Clifford, saying these dudes now don't know if they want to be men or women. I'm saying it a little bit more politically correctly than he did, but you get the gist of it. And he tells Lil Murder how he needs authenticity. And it's in this space that we see Lil Murder quite rudely and harshly reject Clifford in front of everybody. And I felt so heartbroken in that moment, not just for Clifford, but for Lil Murder, who's clearly conflicted about revealing that part of who he is. But before that, we get to see them also explore on screen something we just don't see very often, if at all, which is a straight Black man exploring his sexuality and being sexually fluid. I really appreciated the show's creators including something like this because this is something that's very difficult for Black people to talk about in the community, but it's a conversation that is so desperately needed. When conversations are had around the idea of being sexually fluid, it rarely encompasses Black men because there is such a stigma against the idea that Black men like to experiment sexually with other men or with trans women or those that are non-binary. People want to automatically make the assumption, both Black men and women, that any kind of experimentation makes that man gay. and some feel makes him less of a man. And the stigma that comes with that often makes men who are fluid feel as though they have to hide that part of themselves, lest they be judged or put into a box. And for me personally, it was this love story developing that really made the show. Not that I wasn't enjoying it already, but I felt like this was just an added layer that really made the show stand out. In a great interview done by Broccoli City TV, the actor who plays Lil Murder talks a bit about his character.
Like, okay, how comfortable I am with this. Let me talk to my lady about it.
Yes.
And we said this story is important, and that this story has to be told. I start to reflect on my cousins and all the homies who I know were in that predicament and having to be someone that they're not, or hide themselves and not be able to be free simply because of the stigma that comes with our community, So I thought about that very heavily, and then I made the decision. I said, I want to play this role. We went in, we had to...
I love the fact that he says having this kind of representation may really help people that might be struggling. But what do you all think? Do you all think that this show does a good job of representing a non-binary Black person? Do you think Lil Murder is going to be able to continue to hide his feelings for Uncle Clifford? And do you think this kind of representation has a positive or negative effect on the community? In the following clip, both actors discuss their role on P-Valley and shed some more light on the character of Lil Murder.
Very personal and obviously intimate thing. It's not one of those things that should be judged, right? But it really, for me, being, not only doing theater for the past 11 years and working alongside people who love the same sex all the time, and really having, like I said, changed my perspective from time I was 17 coming out of high school into my career now, 30 years old. It's one of those things where it's very useful to know, not only as an artist, but just as a human being, to say, okay, man, anybody can love anybody, and I should respect that. There's nothing disgusting about it. It's nothing that should make you feel any type of way. And if it does, you have to really dig deep and wonder why. As far as
For yourself.
And there's no judgment on that. Yeah, and there's no judgment on that. You just got to figure it out. But as far as storytelling, as far as an actor being one who's comfortable enough to tell a story with another artist where we're telling a story of two men loving each other, I think that for me, it was like I said, it was my due diligence, man. I had to find my way to protest, find my way to tap in and really be able to change lives. And this was the perfect opportunity. And it was a challenge.
Wow, that was fantastic, and such a fantastic series. I am loving season 2 of P-Valley so far. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, share with others, and leave a comment below. Thank you.